Ancient Egypt, a land of gods and pharaohs, where the divine and the mortal worlds intertwined seamlessly. For millennia, its people worshipped a pantheon of deities, each with their own unique attributes and domains. These gods held sway over every aspect of life, death, and the cosmos, guiding the fates of both the living and the dead. Yet one pharaoh dared to challenge this ancient order, shaking the very foundations of Egyptian society. Akhenaten, the living image of Aten, sought to reshape Egypt's spiritual landscape in a way that no one had ever attempted before. His reign saw the rise of a single god, the Aten, as the sole object of worship, a radical departure from the polytheistic traditions that had defined Egypt for centuries. This radical departure from tradition shook the very foundations of Egyptian society, causing ripples of change that affected every aspect of life. Akhenaten's revolution was not merely a shift in religious practice, it was a complete upheaval of the established order. It was a complete upheaval of the established order, challenging the deeply entrenched power structures of the time. The pharaoh's actions were a direct challenge to the authority of the priesthood, who had long held considerable power within the Egyptian state, acting as intermediaries between the gods and the people. By elevating the Aten above all other gods, Akhenaten sought to consolidate his own power and establish himself as the sole intermediary between the divine and the mortal, effectively sidelining the traditional priesthood. The pharaoh's motives remain a subject of intense debate among historians, with some viewing his actions as a genuine spiritual awakening, while others see them as a calculated political maneuver. Some argue that his religious convictions were sincere, driven by a genuine belief in the Aten as the one true God, a deity that represented the life-giving force of the sun. Others see his actions as a calculated power grab, a means of breaking the influence of the priesthood and centralizing authority in his own hands, thereby ensuring his dominance over both the spiritual and temporal realms. Whatever his motivations, Akhenaten's reign marked a period of unprecedented religious and social upheaval in ancient Egypt, a time of great change and uncertainty. His story is a cautionary tale of ambition, piety, and the dangers of challenging the deeply held beliefs of a civilization, a reminder of the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. Akhenaten's revolution ultimately failed, his name erased from history by those who sought to restore the old ways, his monuments defaced, and his legacy buried under the sands of time. However, the echoes of his reign continue to resonate across the millennia, a testament to the enduring power of religious belief and the human desire for spiritual meaning, reminding us of the ever-present tension between the old and the new. Akhenaten's religious reforms centered on the worship of the Aten, a revolutionary shift that would forever change the landscape of ancient Egyptian spirituality. The Aten, often depicted as a radiant sun disk, represented the life-giving power of the sun, a symbol of creation and sustenance that was both awe-inspiring and omnipresent. Unlike the anthropomorphic deities of the Egyptian pantheon, the Aten was an abstract concept, a universal force that transcended human form. It was a deity without a face, embodying the essence of light and life itself. Akhenaten proclaimed the Aten as the sole creator and sustainer of all life, the source of all light and warmth. This was a bold declaration, positioning the Aten above all other gods and reshaping the religious hierarchy. Temples, traditionally dark and enclosed spaces, were redesigned as open-air structures. These new temples were built to welcome the sunlight, allowing the divine rays of the Aten to penetrate and illuminate the sacred spaces. This architectural transformation allowed the rays of the Aten to bathe worshippers in its divine light, creating a direct and tangible connection between the deity and the people. Statues of the Aten, often depicted with rays ending in hands reaching down to embrace the pharaoh and his family, adorned these new places of worship. These images symbolize the Aten's benevolence and its intimate relationship with the royal family. Gone were the elaborate rituals and animal sacrifices that had characterized traditional Egyptian religion. Akhenaten's reforms sought to simplify worship, focusing on the purity of devotion rather than the complexity of ritual. Instead, the worship of the Aten emphasized simplicity, and direct communion with the divine through hymns, prayers, and offerings of flowers and fruits. This approach fostered a more personal and immediate spiritual experience. Akhenaten's hymns to the Aten are filled with a sense of awe and wonder at the power and beauty of the natural world. These poetic compositions celebrated the Aten's role in the daily cycle of life and the natural order. They speak of the Aten's daily journey across the sky, bringing light and warmth to the earth, and its descent into the underworld, where it battled the forces of darkness and chaos. This narrative underscored the Aten's omnipotence and its eternal struggle to maintain balance and harmony. This new faith, with its emphasis on light, truth, and universalism, stood in stark contrast to the complex and often obscure beliefs of traditional Egyptian religion. It was a religion that sought to unify and simplify, bringing clarity and focus to the spiritual life of the people. It represented a radical departure from the past, a complete break with millennia of religious tradition. Akhenaten's vision was revolutionary, challenging the established order and redefining the relationship between the divine and the mortal. Akhenaten's reforms were not merely a matter of theology. They were a fundamental challenge to the very fabric of Egyptian society. His changes touched every aspect of life, from the way people worshipped to the way they understood their place in the universe, marking a profound and lasting impact on the history of ancient Egypt. Akhenaten's break from tradition extended beyond religious reforms. He was not content with merely changing the way Egyptians worshipped. He sought to transform the very fabric of Egyptian society. He orchestrated a dramatic shift in the political and cultural landscape of Egypt, challenging the established norms and conventions that had governed the land for centuries. Abandoning Thebes, the traditional seat of pharaonic power, Akhenaten founded a new capital city in Middle Egypt. This bold move was symbolic of his desire to break free from the past and create a new future. This city, known as Akhetaten, Horizon of the Aten, or Amarna as it is known today, was built on virgin land, untouched by the legacy of the old gods. It was a blank canvas upon which Akhenaten could paint his vision of a new Egypt. Amarna was more than just a new capital. It was a physical manifestation of Akhenaten's religious vision. Every aspect of the city was designed to reflect his devotion to the Aten, the sun disk. The city's layout was carefully planned to reflect the Aten's dominance. Streets and buildings were oriented towards the sun, ensuring that the Aten's light would touch every corner of the city. Its temples and palaces were oriented towards the rising sun, and its walls were adorned with scenes of daily life, celebrating the bounty of nature and the joy of living under the Aten's benevolent gaze. The art and architecture of Amarna were unlike anything seen before in Egypt. Life in Amarna was unlike anything Egypt had seen before. The city was a vibrant, bustling metropolis, filled with people from all walks of life. The city was a melting pot of cultures, attracting artists, artisans, and officials from across the empire. It was a place where creativity and innovation flourished. Akhenaten encouraged a new artistic style, one that broke free from the rigid conventions of the past. This new style was characterized by a sense of realism and naturalism. Sculptures and reliefs from Amarna depict the royal family with elongated limbs, exaggerated features, and a sense of intimacy and naturalism that was unprecedented in Egyptian art. These works of art provide a glimpse into the personal lives of the pharaoh and his family. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic new city, tensions were brewing. Not everyone was pleased with Akhenaten's radical changes. The abandonment of Thebes had angered the powerful priesthood of Amun, whose influence and wealth were directly threatened by Akhenaten's reforms. They saw his new religion as a direct attack on their power. Moreover, the rapid construction of Amarna and the relocation of the court had placed a significant strain on the Egyptian economy. Resources were stretched thin, and the people of Egypt were feeling the pressure of these monumental changes. While Akhenaten remained secluded in his sunlit city, discontent simmered throughout the rest of Egypt. The Egyptian people, deeply rooted in tradition, struggled to embrace the new religion. The pharaoh's decision to abolish the worship of the old gods was met with fear and resentment. Generations of Egyptians had prayed to these deities for protection, prosperity, and guidance. The abrupt shift to the Aten left many feeling spiritually adrift, uncertain of their place in the new order. The priesthood, stripped of their traditional roles and influence, actively fueled this discontent. Whispers of the gods' displeasure and the pharaoh's hubris spread throughout the land. Even within Amarna itself, there were signs of resistance. Archaeological evidence suggests that many citizens continued to practice their old religion in secret, burying amulets of traditional deities beneath their homes. The construction of Amarna, while intended as a symbol of Akhenaten's power and piety, had also created resentment among the laborers forced to build the pharaoh's new city. The seeds of rebellion were sown, waiting for the right moment to sprout. Akhenaten, blinded by his religious zeal and isolated in his artificial paradise, seemed oblivious to the growing storm clouds gathering on the horizon. His revolution, intended to usher in a new era of peace and prosperity under the Aten, was pushing Egypt towards a precipice. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.